That is a crushingly basic and uninteresting series of events. You've described the lives of everyone.
Right.
I was a piece of shit, then I met a girl. She was cool, and
we were bipolar.
She got my piece of shit. She's a piece of shit too, and now we're pieces of shit together. Whoa! All of humanity. Then we had a little too much to drink, and we had a kid. Fuck. And now the kid does the same thing. The whole human race has been summed up in a really crushingly uninteresting way over the course of these past 15 minutes or so. Can we do something?
Yeah.
If he keeps going with this filleting of his boring life, I don't know if I can do it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scare Your Friends. I am joined by my friends. Tonight we have Dylan, Dan, and William. And I am stunned, okay? I am so surprised, because I never thought I would ever have to say this again, but boys, we have to go back. We have to go back to the showers.
What?
He made a part 3.
What? No. No.
And a part 4.
What? No. All right.
But first, while my friends look this up, we have our very special friend back. He hasn't been here for 2 episodes, but here he is. William, how's it been, dude?
Oh, man. It's okay. Oh, jeez. Life keeps happening, and I'm still alive for the time being. That's about it.
Alright, what about you, Dylan?
I can't follow that.
What?
Dylan's had a hard day.
Dylan, you're not supposed to follow. You're supposed to just say how you're doing.
Okay, I guess.
Dylan's had a rougher day than me. I wouldn't rely on him for conversational
No, I wouldn't.
enlightenment.
Alright, Dan?
I'm good, John. Thank you for asking. It's been a good week. I hope everyone else out there is having a good week. And yeah, that's how you talk to people.
You know, this is the part I forgot about recording podcasts with Will, is that he'll do things that only we can see, that no one else can be privy to.
Yeah, and yet somehow you keep announcing them on the podcast, because clearly it's not a gag that translates, which is why I'm not saying anything about it. And yet, without fail...
Yeah, but it's distracting us as we're trying to talk.
Well, that's the point. Once you stop giving in, I will stop doing it.
I already regret doing this.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Oh boy.
On September
11th.
No. September...
Alright, now we're back.
Wait! No. On September 25th, 2012, the first part of The Showers was released.
Right.
By a author who goes by the name of... Let's find him. What was your name?
Timothy McAndrew.
No, it wasn't. Oh, it was like Clover or something. There was like a bunch of numbers at the end of it. But basically his name is Clover. Or her name is Clover.
Leaf.
What?
Just disregard everything Dylan says.
Right. But anyway, after he wrote this, on part 2 was released on September 26th.
And part 3, according to Reddit/NoSleep, March 11, 2018.
It's been 6 years.
Oh, wow. Is it the same person?
It is the same writer.
Holy shit.
He decided he had to go back to the shower.
Talk about a long gestating
For those
project.
of you who don't remember, this was the episode where he broke new ground with horror and also questioning our shower habits and whether or not Dan showers his own ass.
I wash my ass. We came to that conclusion during that podcast.
Did we? Because you're getting very defensive about
I
it.
thoroughly wash my ass every fucking day, alright?
Did you spread?
Don't let me know. Let the audience know that.
I do spread. We're talking to the audience right now. I'm getting real flustered right now. We already treaded this ground, alright? We discussed it. It was confirmed, okay? I don't know why we have to revisit it.
Okay.
He's got a clean ass.
So I want to quickly...
The cleanest!
Quick shout out to Beth Morton for pointing this out to me. I had no idea this existed until a couple weeks ago.
Clean?
No, about the story.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she knows about your ass, and I don't think she wants to.
She probably doesn't.
I mean...
Well, now she knows, so...
Wait, what happened in
Her
the
and the
showers?
10 people that listen to this podcast.
This is the Mr. Mays guy. Remember the guy who... This is
The cool teacher that told the scary story?
Oh, God. Oh.
He was a tool.
No, wait.
That's
but
the response to
hang on.
everything,
All right, before we have our reactions, let me go through it a little bit. So there was a character who we later figure out his name is Jack.
Yeah.
And when he was a student, we were discussing this during part 1, how it's like, every year I go to a new school, and it's like, wait, that's weird.
So, John,
but hold on.
I would say not to synopsisize or whatever the word is. The previous podcast, I would say, go listen to it, give it a like.
I'm trying to because William
comment and subscribe.
I would normally do that, but unfortunately, William has the memory of a sheep and doesn't remember.
William, it's not that William has the memory of the sheep. He chooses to forget doing these. He gets up. Okay, we record these. And he makes some kind of pithy comment after we're done, gets up, and it's gone. It's completely gone. It's almost magical, to be honest with you. I'm starting to suspect you're a fucking android.
like an ever-flowing river.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is what basically happened. He met this teacher named Mr. Mays who told this story about how
and he loved writing horror stories.
Yes. But this is now you have to remember this character. This is the guy who was we complained about him was like, he was the one who was complaining about tropes.
And he would make shit up.
Right.
He would tell
and he said,
stories,
I would make up the story,
right,
but
I
would do this.
Yeah.
But then when part 2 came out, we were like, oh, this guy's a good writer, because we have a horror story here. Right. This is the one where him and his friend are going to it, and I remember there was a line where Dan was even like, was this written by a different guy? Like, literally, that was something you said.
Yeah.
So we can... I think this guy is a good writer. I think based on part 2 of The Shower, I think there's potential. I think there's just... It's a matter of choices, I guess. Like, what do you think, Dan, honestly? Like, as a writer...
The first one feels like a preamble to the second one. I think
right, but even you, when you did it, you were saying, like, how you could summarize the entire first part in, like, 2 sentences.
Yeah, or, like, 2 paragraphs, yeah. The thing about the first one is you have this story within a story, right?
Right.
And it's telling you another character's experience, right? And then the part 2 is the narrator's experience. And I feel like it's not necessarily the suspense or the horror is sort of killed by explaining a similar story in the first one, but it's certainly lessened, and it's a weird choice. It's strange. Everybody's staring at my dog right now. Who's just hanging.
Oh, there's a dog in here.
He's so quiet. He's just hanging on the couch, stretching out.
You're gonna hear his collar occasionally, but that's
maybe
okay.
Or a yawn. He's a good boy.
But anyway, it was I remember The Showers being a very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story with in terms of the quality, but I remember really enjoying doing it. These are like some of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
So I was both excited and also very concerned when I heard there was part 3. Now, in tradition to what we did during part 1 and part 2, I have not read part 3. I have not read any of it.
Oh boy.
As is tradition. And I will not read any of part 4. But I'm really excited. I've been waiting for a long time to read this.
Dylan's real apprehensive right now.
I'm not liking this.
He's not liking it. He's not liking The Showers.
Well,
I'm ready to take off my clothes and hop in, make sure I wash my ass. Let's do it.
All right. Well, without further ado, this is part 3, The Showers, which again was written 6 years after the original story, and trilogies always go super well after 6 years.
2 months ago, too.
Like, this person must be like a new... Like, seriously, like, if the author wrote this when he was 20, he's now like 26.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's crazy to me.
Or was 40 now 46.
I doubt.
Or, any age that's 6 years after the previous age. The both of you are doing real great right now.
Ooh, I read the first sentence of that what I'm going to do. All right, let's read this.
Oh.
My name is Jack.
Don't do that.
And some of you may have...
Don't do that.
I'm doing it.
Don't.
I have to get in character.
Well, I'm leaving.
I apologize to the audience.
Goodbye.
And some of you may have read or heard a story about me, by me, a few years back. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no.
All right, let's read it.
I'm writing
and then
this
react.
I'm writing this from the same shitty laptop that I used to drunkenly post The Showers on Reddit. No! Dude! Don't... Oh, God.
Hey,
okay.
John,
See, you
as
didn't
the
read
host
it.
of this podcast, I'm going to stop you right here and ask that you please read the paragraph.
Yeah, you're hamming it up a little bit
Save your
too much.
reactions later.
I wasn't expecting him to say Reddit. Oh, Okay, on
It's
Reddit.
real, John.
Too late.
This is real.
I mean, the bishop, the Duke of Reddit, is in this room right now, so...
It's on Reddit, which is real life. I reject that title.
I really was hoping you wouldn't even respond to it. Alright.
Right.
I used to drunkenly post the showers on Reddit a little over 5 years ago. It has spent the better part of 2 years at the bottom of a box in my bedroom closet. I haven't had much use for it recently, and it honestly isn't in the best of shape. The damn thing takes about 20 minutes to start up properly and dies the instant it unplugs from its charger. Some of the keys are missing. Some of them stick. I've spent a good amount of time clumsily cleaning sugary soft drinks cut with whiskey out of every nook and cranny. But a thing can only take so much abuse before it just goes. Tonight, I just got lucky.
Okay, so let's dissect this first paragraph, because already, I already have a feel of what he's trying to do. We're talking like sort of Stephen King style, right? Where he like dusts off the old laptop, the old typewriter, and some of the keys are kind of sticky, and he's got to get the right paper, and he's got to replace the ink, but he's like doing it in a modern context,
right?
Because didn't the author become a writer by the end of the
the whole thing is like I haven't written in 5 years.
So yeah, he's doing like the trope. A little bit.
He's doing that mood-setting preamble.
Right. Which I prefer to be just a paragraph, but I'm already picking up that kind of Stephen King vibe.
She managed to boot, just for me. I think she has one more decent story left in her, for better or worse.
Well, you shot me a knowing look,
John,
and I had to...
John, this sounds like your laptop.
Yeah, it does.
My laptop, look, my laptop...
John, did you write this?
She managed to boot just for me is a little too noir-y for my taste.
Yeah,
I need like
that.
we have to like, if I knew how to do it and I had the license to do it, we just edit a saxophone like...
Yeah,
If this
get some royalty-free music.
If this trends towards cheesy noir, I don't know if I can make it.
It's either cheesy noir or classic horror author.
There is...
I don't know which it's
I'm just going to make a prediction right now, and I haven't read this story, but there's only one way this could end. He's going to go back to the area with the flowers.
Probably.
And that's how it's going to end. It's gonna be like Star Wars. It rhymes.
It's in poetry.
It's
It
like
rhymes.
poetry.
It's like poetry.
It's like poetry.
Can I just?
Very cool.
Very cool. I'm just gonna do I'm just gonna read that sentence again in as noir voice as possible.
Okay, I'll try to edit some saxophones over it. Okay, go.
She managed to boot, just for me. I think she has one more decent story left in her, for better or worse.
I'm like a cop siren.
Fucking Sin City, everything's in black and white, but then William's shirt is yellow for some reason. Okay.
Classic.
Yeah. Oh, Frank Miller.
Alright, Dylan, why don't you take over?
I don't really remember writing or posting either part of the showers. I do, however, remember feeling simultaneously listless and restless around that time period. I was tremendously unproductive, not working in my chosen field, and had too much free time to spend thinking about those facts. I had told the story to some friends at the bar one night.
Story's hitting home for me.
Everyone in this room sighs and shudders.
It's the scariest one we've read so far.
I had told the story to some friends at the bar one night and shaken some memories loose, which led to that post. I woke up one evening and hopped on my laptop to find the story thread was left open. I typed in it directly into the submission box, not leaving myself anything to edit. I just forced it of me over a couple of long drunken nights and threw it up on the internet for everyone to see. I tried to read it, but even outside the memories that I would have rather avoided, each spelling and grammatical error made me want to shoot whiskey or chug bleach. I went with the former, and as far as I can remember, I have never made it through the whole story as it was written. It seems pointless to go back and read it even now. I have lived through this all enough times in my head. I don't need to do that to myself.
Real quick, is this like an in-universe way of excusing any mistakes he made in his
Which is
first
funny
story?
because in the previous sentence before he says that is a grammatical mistake.
Yeah, no, I know.
I think when we read Corruptus, all those months ago, I think he did something similar where it was like, I know it's not the corridors, or he made some like mistake with it in like the
Yeah, but that was. We talked about that. That was because people were like, well, Disney's set up like the blah, 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 blah. And like in universe, again, as slime beasts want to do, it's clever. And it makes sense within the context of the story to have that meta commentary of like, yeah, I don't remember exactly what I saw because I was scared shitless. This is, I typed it up drunkenly and I didn't want to relive it, so that's why it's all fucked up.
Which, to be fair,
which is a lame excuse.
Dan, might be what really happened.
I mean,
this
sure,
author is
but
an incorrigible drunk.
just like Mr. whatever the fuck his name of the teacher's name.
Remember, as a group, we
Mr.
did
Mays.
again. As a group, we did like part 2 of the showers, so it's not like this author can't.
I don't remember that.
Good,
John. Since I don't remember anything that happened before this, I'm blank slating this adventure
That's
here.
fair.
Just tabula rasa every time.
That's it.
Huh. Alright. I did read the comments, though. I may have hated myself, but being a bit of interest in my work gave my ego a boost, if only for a moment. I went back every now and then to check on them, but for the most part I was forced to continue on with my stagnant life while the story spread quietly around the web. I worked as a bartender at the time and split my free hours between sleeping and drinking. These occasionally overlapped or synced up with work. It was a vicious little loop I had carved for myself. I wasn't a writer like I had hoped to be at that point in my life, so getting to play on the internet for a few moments...
William keeps patting down on the back.
every now and
so funny.
I'm gonna have to leave the room at some point.
For a few minutes every now and then helped to break up the monotony of reality.
At least if I was a drunk, I would have an excuse. Like, I'm just a lazy piece of shit.
It's okay, Dan.
This
isn't about you.
No, it's not. It feels like it!
How about you read the next one?
I don't even want to. I feel dirty. I feel like I have to go and wash my ass.
I thought you said you had a clean asshole.
It's dirty now.
He's just shitting himself.
Okay, over the course, mentally I am.
Like
over the course of the...
like nervous farts.
Over the course...
The writer, I'm drunk and I can't write...
That might have been the Five Guys. Over the course of the next several months, I received several emails and friend requests from old classmates or strangers who had taken interest in my story. My former classmates' messages generally consisted of their memories of Mr. Mays and his story.
Mr. Mays.
Mr. Mays here! Asking nothing in return. I guess that most of them were either married or lost and needed a dose of nostalgia as a pick-me-up. Who could blame them? Though some of them actually wanted to meet up, grab drinks, and really get into the past. I lived half a continent away from the town where I attended Mr. Mays' class at this point, but that didn't stop me from making empty offers of company to several different people if our paths were ever to cross. I did wind up grabbing a beer with one guy who was just passing through on some summer night in Denver, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I'm 99% sure he had never met Mr. Mays or myself. He dodged specifics when I asked him questions and repeated a lot of my statements back to me in agreement. I remember him nodding his head a lot and saying, "Yeah, that's right," over and over again. But he was picking up the tab, so I didn't... Good man. So I didn't notice a lot of this until the next afternoon. That was also the last time I met up with anybody from the internet. Okay. So I'm getting Corruptus vibes from this now.
Yeah.
Are you picking that up too?
Don't ask me about Corruptus.
Fuck off. Anyway, I'm getting that vibe where these people either are part of the shower phenomenon. You know what I mean?
Big shower.
Yeah, big shower, big shower. The men in shower.
They dress up in shower curtains.
Yeah,
the guy from the showers?
Yeah, and like they're trying to reach out to him to try to have
He's like
him...
running out of ways to tell the story.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So this is going to turn to that thing where he's a crazy paranoid, but there's actually an evil shower-loving corporation that's after him because he's spreading the truth.
Right, that's what I'm
Big
feeling.
shower.
That's what I'm feeling.
Not shower corporation, big shower.
Big shower.
Big shower.
That's what I'm getting.
Big
right
shower's
now.
coming for me.
That's what I'm getting.
People with shower curtains around them with two holes for
I
eyes.
love that. I love that image. I really do. Just like he walks outside and there's a group of people standing across the street perfectly still in fucking shower curtains.
And like one of them is like the map of the world because that's always somehow.
And it's like the showers is marked like right.
Oh my god, the way the showers are organized. Each
Like a
shower
sort of
represents
portable
a
shower.
capital city of the country.
There's always
And
those
it's
like novelty shower curtains with like a map on them. That's what I'm. Yeah.
I'm thinking of that, the circular ones that people just like hide themselves in. It's
Yeah.
like portable and all that.
Yeah.
You see them just shaking as they're moving.
I also got a surprising number of requests for the specific coordinates of the showers from a wide variety of personalities.
There we go.
There were people, there were people offering money, transport, and even what was essentially malicious support if I could take them there. Like it was some sort of guided tour. I turned them down, but I would be lying if I said I didn't consider accepting some cash in exchange for the coordinates of any random barn I could pull up on Google Maps. I didn't, though.
As foreign as surreal as the whole thing was, I did take pretty immediate notice of the power it gave me over people.
Oh, boy.
It felt like I was back around a campfire with a group of friends hanging on my every word, but with a much larger audience. It all started innocently enough. I would be out with a friend looking for some decent conversation or a better lay. My friend would bring up the showers and ask me to tell the story. Then I would fight him on it for a bit before caving, ordering another round and launching into some variation of the bit. It really did work like a charm. It seemed like every time I went out I ended up with a new friend or another notch on my belt. I hardly had to try. I was just drunkenly wandering down memory lane. After a while I had narrowed my sights, only bringing out the story for certain people or for very specific ends.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, guys.
Hang on.
I used it to get laid. It's as simple as that.
Yes, telling a story about how you were attacked by some kind of malevolent being will definitely...
Yeah, if the rest of The Showers Part 3 could just exclusively be him derailing into a more and more drunken retelling of the various sexual encounters he's had,
I would be okay with that.
I'd be fine with that.
I would be okay with
I
that.
would read the whole thing.
I would read the whole thing out loud.
Mm-hmm.
We are... There's a dog walking around the
That's
trying to
alright, I got it. Keep going. Hands. Come on, bud.
No more hymens need to be broken.
Alright,
Is that the word?
No, you can't. You can't bring out that. I'm moving on.
Jesus Christ.
I would talk to a girl for a little while, get to know her just enough, take a guess at some of her fears, and work them into the climax of the story. I have faced down ghosts, encountered demons, and even had spiders rain down on me from the shower heads. But I made it out intact every time, if only ever so slightly worse for wear.
I'm sorry, is that how you get women to have sex with you? Because I still haven't figured it out.
Just
make them terrified?
Yeah, just talk about the time you were raped as a boy, and they will be all over you, Dan.
Okay.
They
Wow.
will be chomping at the bit for a taste of that sweet, damaged goods.
Jesus Christ.
Apparently, according to the story.
According to the story.
I'm not,
You
I
just have to
haven't
tell
tried
a
that.
dumb, scary story and
Personally.
include their worst fears in it, and they just get moist. Who knew?
This is like, this is very curious, psychological postulating, but I'm not going to delve into it.
Sure.
Yep. But I made it... Where was I? Jeez. I was just damaged enough from the experience that a pretty girl might feel some sympathy for me, which I would thank her for while reaching out for her hands, or maybe grabbing her leg. All roads lead to the same place. Hers.
Alright, I'm getting uncomfortable.
It's
Just saying.
What did he say?
He's just living
Wait,
off
what
pity
was
fucks.
that?
He's just living off pity
Whether
fucks
it
and
was
booze.
for work or play, it didn't really matter.
This is literally like the trope author.
Yes. How is this constantly coming up?
Right, and where is this going?
The drunk, womanizing, penniless author.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
they're
get
taking
it,
it to the
Dan.
shower.
Dan,
This guy clearly watched Californication and really, really loved that show.
Yeah, really, Dan. As
That's
a
a show?
drunk,
It is.
penniless, womanizing author yourself,
Sure.
can you explain to me?
I mean, I don't know about womanizing, and I don't know about penniless or drunk. I'm just fucking awful.
Or
Just
a
an
writer.
awful human being.
Or a writer.
I barely write. Anyway,
Wow.
no, I barely write. I just critique other writers. It makes me feel better about myself.
honestly, probably more money to be made there somehow.
Yeah, I guess so.
YouTube.
I don't even remember what the question was that you asked me.
It's
I know
not.
you asked sarcastically.
It's fine. I would stumble back to my barren apartment every afternoon, throw on some different clothes, and head back out to the bar. Whether it was for work or play didn't really matter. Like I said, all roads... ...
All roads
I'm
lead
a
back
little
to the
uncomfortable
showers.
right now.
This took kind of a grimy turn. Yeah.
The showers fucked him up.
Yeah, you go for it.
Well, really, grimy.
Yes, Dylan.
Stop setting up for stupid puns, please.
Well, how is that a pun?
Just read
I'm
it.
sorry. Oh, wait.
I don't-
Hold on. Let's stop the podcast. How is that a pun, exactly?
I'm saying he's setting me up for stupid puns. Now he's got to take a
How-
shower.
what-
You're gonna need a
what would-
shower now for all that grime. There. You happy?
No, I'm not. I'm
Exactly.
never happy
Exactly.
when you fucking start down that road.
You asked, you got.
Jesus Christ. Well, like I said, all roads. Anyway.
I don't know how long I spent being this piece of shit phase. Oh, wait, no. In this piece of shit phase. but I do know that Karen broke me out of it. Initially, she was just the next in a long line of women I had yet to woo. We met at a bar where I told her a story, which led to her place, but instead of passing out after sex, we stayed up and talked. It didn't feel like needless bullshit either. I felt like she understood me, and I her. In reality, I think we just both liked getting really messed up and swapping stories about our shitty childhoods and mental ailments with someone else so that we wouldn't have to make excuses for being alone. We actually did have the mental stuff in common, though. 2 different kinds of bipolar disorder. We thought that, in a strange way, it was meant that we were perfect for each other. I don't need to be told how stupid that sounds.
Well, you're gonna be told anyway. Because that whole thing was real stupid.
William looked at me 5 fucking times during that paragraph with that knowing look that he does.
That was by far the most insufferable paragraph in this whole
in any of the things we've read.
My God.
Well, we're not done with this story, but I would say, yeah, that was
oh my
pretty
God,
bad.
that was the most tropey, cringy, sad white guy thing I've ever read in my life.
I definitely going to
shit.
try and edit a saxophone into the
Holy
entirety
shit.
of this reading.
Yeah, please.
Be more sad and white.
And where is this going? We're like 8 or 9 paragraphs in, and we're
You
just
know
talking
what?
about this guy's shitty
I know we were
life.
joking about this earlier, but I really am wondering if part 3 rhymes with part 1.
Right. I've been thinking the
Because-
same thing, and
because
part
it's-
4 is fucking amazing.
And part 4 is going to be like the good part.
Yeah.
And part 3 is going to be the part where like, why didn't you just do this for like 2 paragraphs?
This guy spends way too much fucking time.
That's what I'm saying.
Expository.
I think this guy is talent, but it's just the
He
choices.
just spends way too much. Like,
Because then you wouldn't appreciate the next part.
I get that you're trying to establish some kind of character and how he's fucked up after all the
Oh my
events. of
God.
the show.
What an original character, though.
Dan.
Right. Well, okay.
Dan.
That's neither here nor there. Whether it's tropey.
Daniel.
What?
Have we found the David Cage?
Oh,
of
I'm
writers?
not getting into that. Anyway, that's another time.
Don't do that,
That's another time, another podcast. Anyway,
Okay.
no.
Karen also...
Wait. I'm not. Hold on. Because here's the thing: whether he's sitting there doing the tropes, that's neither here nor there. I don't even give a shit at this point because we've already established it's tropey, and we've already talked about it several times. If things can be tropey and still be good, okay, if you do them right, don't fuck off. Don't. Okay.
William's making gestures to Dan.
But my issue is, there's too much. There's too much.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Hey, after the first couple stories, I spent a couple months, drinking and feeling sorry for myself.
Met a girl.
Picking up women at the bar. Met a girl. She kind of pulled me out of it, and this is where I am today. I did that in a paragraph. This is fucking...
And here's
we're
the
a
thing.
quarter of the way through the story.
And Dan, that is a crushingly basic and uninteresting series of events. You've described the lives of everyone.
Right.
I was a piece of shit, then I met a girl. She was cool, and she got...
And we were bipolar.
She got my piece of shit. She's a piece of shit, too. And now we're pieces of shit together. Whoa! All of humanity! Then we had a little too much to drink, and we had a kid. Fuck! And now the kid does the same thing. The whole human race has been summed up in a really crushingly uninteresting way over the course of these past 15 minutes or so. Can we do something?
Yeah,
If he
this
keeps
is-
going with this filleting of his boring life, I don't know if I can do it.
Just this whole story is one big blowjob.
This aggressive
Hold on.
masturbatory
Wait,
declaration.
William, the next sentence will blow your
Please
mind.
go ahead and read it.
Karen also had a degree in political science from Rutgers.
Please finish the sentence.
A wicked right hook. And one of the most persuasive and charismatic.
Charismatic.
I'm like joking.
Charismatic personalities that
I've ever encountered.
But again, this is why is that noir? Why are we dipping in and out of noir while also writing fucking tropey ass nonsense?
It's like fan fiction noir.
it's fan fiction showers. Like it's weird. It's so weird.
It's
All
like
right.
if someone tried to write except I know this is the same guy who wrote the first 2. This isn't some guy who read The Showers and said, I'm going to write my own version. This is the same dude.
All right.
Wonder why it took 6 years.
Well, I don't know if he was planning on coming back, but he did. I worry that
And we all suffer.
I worry that sort of thing isn't going to come across here because of what this is all ultimately leading to.
Yeah, what is it leading to?
It's leading
Author?
to he's going to the showers again.
Let's
That's what's
find
happening.
out, Dan.
How far are we? Oh my god.
The dog is checked out.
The dog's leaving. Get out, doggy.
Honestly, I envy him.
Nope, he's coming back.
Well,
I just don't want-
that. And he's like, no.
I just don't want to do her a disservice. We didn't end up together for a year and a half because we were awful for each other. At that point in my life, I was both lost and an asshole. A clean, dirty asshole.
Yep.
I had turned her into a concept, or an archetype in my head. She was the Nancy to my Sid, the Bonnie to
Oh
my
my god! Oh my god! Oh my! Just
The Nancy to my Sid.
the Bonnie to my Clyde.
No. The Bonnie to Clyde. I'll be back.
And we were probably headed down the same path as both couples. I guess looking back, I had fit her into that awful, manic, pinky dream girl
Pixie.
trope. Pixie girl,
Dream girl.
dream
Can
girl
you get-
trope in my head. I was a lost guy looking for a girl with hair the color of a mood ring to solve the complex problems that was...
Alright, stop.
What
Hang on.
the
No.
God.
John.
Oh my
John,
god!
stop reading. We're gonna reread that sentence. You know what? We're gonna make Dan read the rest of this paragraph because this
No,
son of a
I'm
bitch
finishing-
left. No.
I'm finishing.
Don't let Dan.
No.
Don't let Dan out.
No.
Don't let
We
Dan
have a
avoid
podcast
this.
to do.
First
We're
of all,
doing
first,
the
okay,
podcast.
okay, first of all, what the fuck was that?
Hold on. I want to reread this sentence. Hold on. I'm going to read this as slowly as I can because even I got lost.
You're gonna have to go.
I was a lost guy looking for a girl with hair the color of a mood ring to solve the complex problem that was me.
Is he trying to be like funny?
What?
He's trying. No,
That's just wrong. That's not
just-
grammatically correct.
It is grammatically correct. It's just
How?
really cringy.
I can't.
It
That
is.
doesn't come out right at all.
He's trying
I was
to
a
write
lost
with
guy
a
looking
certain
for a girl
flair.
with the hair.
Honestly, look, I feel like a lot of this has been a culmination of him grabbing several different styles of writing and coalescing them together into a really messy pile. It's like touches of noir, and then you got this nonsense going on with the romance element.
Well,
It feels
wasn't
very
part one-
slapdash
Wasn't
somehow.
part one like this too?
I don't remember, Dylan.
I don't remember.
Part one was almost exactly like this.
But
It was the part where it was where like he's telling a story to how Mr. Mays told the story of the showers, and he was like, and the whole classroom was on the edge of their seats as Mr. Mays told the story, and we were like, well, when he was actually telling the story, it's not bad, but it's like, and then I felt everyone have this bone.
I'm on the horse. I'm on the horse.
I don't know.
I'm on the horse.
I feel like there's like an unfocused voice here, which is what
Yeah.
we're all kind of getting stuck in, which is that it's almost a whiplash back and forth between different phrasing and different styles of writing. Dan, I told him to stop reading because I didn't want you to get out of this shitty paragraph.
Fair enough.
Hang on, I'm gonna reread.
He's gonna reread the good sentence. for you.
Redundant.
Okay, are you ready? This is the sentence after the Bonnie and Clyde thing.
Sorry, everyone.
It's okay. Go ahead, John.
I was a lost guy looking for a girl with hair the color of a mood ring to solve the complex problem. That was me.
And Dan's head is in his hands.
Do you know how we said at the beginning that if he was 20 when he wrote the original story, he would now be 26?
Yes, Dan.
How is this more angsty?
Right? It's crazy. Can we power through this paragraph? I feel like we're getting stuck here. But
On
it's
any
terrible.
given day, she was the love of my life, my partner in crime.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay, sorry. The next day, she was my antagonist, an obstacle to overcome. It was all part of this story that I'd seen play out in the movies and books so many times before. But in the end, it was me trying to fit a square peg in a non-existent hole.
Anal joke.
No, whatever.
That's the fourth hole joke.
She made me feel good about myself, though. I'm pretty sure I loved her. It's just that I was simultaneously loving and using her without realizing it, without realizing what I was doing. This isn't to say that she didn't get use out of me.
So,
What does this have to do with showers?
I was just trying to get
Okay.
through that paragraph.
so I feel like this author, okay, and I'm just spitballing here, but this author probably just went through a breakup.
I was just going to say the same thing.
And rather than just posting his feelings or whatever, he goes,
I don't know.
I'll go back and
I don't agree
revisit
with
the
that.
showers.
I don't agree with that.
This would sound like me 3
Okay,
months ago.
as somebody who has written things privately to myself in that sense to try to get over somebody, this is what this sounds like, and that shit is just as bad and angsty.
Oh.
And I'm perfectly okay with admitting that, because a lot of people do it to try to get their feelings or to try to understand what they're going through in their own head.
Hold on, let me...
May I read?
And that's fine, but don't
Subject the world to that.
right.
May I? Because
What
I think I may have seen a little something that's going to, I think, piss off everybody.
Okay, all right.
She started coming over to my place after we had spent a couple of nights spent together and never really left. Items of her clothing and her toiletries started showing up around the apartment. I just kind of went with it. There was one night where I brought up how we had never actually talked about living together before it had already happened. That night somehow ended with both of us blacking out in tears. But by the time our happy hour rolled around the next evening, we were as good as new. It wasn't an issue at the time. We just sort of fell in together. I know this probably sounds unhealthy, and it was. And here we go. I've gotten off track.
Then why?
This is part of the problem when we try to approach these things as like a story, and it's so clearly like they don't attempt to make it a story.
This is why you read the story.
They build it. They build it.
No, it's
They
way
just
more
build
fun.
it. This
No,
like
I'm having a blast.
this flow of consciousness style. That the forum post format allows to like thrive in a lot of creepypasta leads to this kind of bullshit where people just spew and they don't edit, and then they're just like, oh, this can just be part of it. This adds authenticity to what I'm doing. Rather than going back and editing or cutting things.
Well, they got
just-
off track.
They foolishly believe that it makes the whole thing feel more real, which A, it does not, and B, it just makes it so much more miserable to try and power through. And it
No, I
seems
think
happens
it's
so-
just
the caver.
I really am convinced that it's just the choices he's making. Because we read part two. We've read part two. This guy can write.
But this seems too specific.
I know. Yeah.
To just have him making this shit up.
Oh,
off
this
the
is
top of his head.
100% autobiographical in
Yeah.
some sense.
Yes, in some sense, absolutely.
But seen through the lens
Right.
of someone who's just desperately
again-
grabbing any pop
Right.
culture.
And again, this might be
Show me love.
why he came back to this. This
Maybe.
might have been the excuse. That he's going through a rough time. And again, this is all conjecture. But just based on what we're reading right now, this guy has no interest in writing an actual sequel to The Showers. He just had a bad breakup and he wants to fucking try to deal
This
with
character,
it.
there's been no story.
Bad relationship.
Nothing's, you know what this weird thing is? We've read a quarter of this story, and I don't think anything's happened.
Nothing's happened.
It's just the guy...
This is all expository.
Well, Dan, the good news is we've got 3 quarters left
Fuck off.
for things to get real good.
And for that first half, we got off track.
I just,
Thank you,
I
Dylan.
don't... Yeah, it's baffling to me. If you're going to write a sequel to your story, that was relatively well received, at least by us, the second part, why would you open with several paragraphs
Why even the same guy?
about your relationship? Right, about your relationship with this girl. And if, for whatever reason, she is important, let's just say for the sake of argument, and again, that he takes her to the showers. They get drunk one night and fucking, take me to the shower, blah, blah, blah.
The big
right?
shower comes.
Right. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that that's what happens, and something bad happens to her.
I'm already predicting that's what's
Right.
happening by the end of this.
She's gonna die.
This is why we're getting so much of this. But if you want to focus on your bad relationship with your shitty girlfriend, fine. 2-3 paragraphs max. This all exposition.
The Bonnie to my Clyde
It's
is too much.
the Nancy to my Sid is even fucking worse. It's too much. Way too much expository information. Way, way, way too much. I've already lost interest completely.
Yeah, I will say, though, we do have a decent chunk of the story left, and I, for one, am choosing to be very positive and saying,
fuck off.
now that, hey,
Dan?
Told you fuck off like 5 times already.
Dan, now that he's worked through what's going on in his little tiny heart, maybe we can power forward with a great sequel.
Hey, Dylan,
Okay.
do me a favor.
You were lucky I'm not getting up out of my seat and
Stop.
jumping
Okay.
right now.
All right, that's a little
okay, so
excessive.
that's a little
That's
extreme.
a lot.
Dylan, can you do me Dylan, I want you to do me a favor. Can you read the next sentence?
Just read? No.
Just read it after the I've gotten off track thing. There's another sentence.
Karen took a great interest in my stories. The showers. Particularly interested her because she had come across a reading of it on a podcast or YouTube channel and knew about it before she had even met me.
This is why we're doing this story. This is it. Because
I swear to God.
you're a liar.
You're a
fucking liar.
I haven't read this.
You're a liar.
No, I am.
Don't
dead
lie to
serious.
me, John.
I'm dead
Dan, we're
serious.
going to the next paragraph. She listened to Scare Your Friends podcast.
It's probably no. It would be. It would. I'm sure there's something out there, but I'm sure
I know.
it would be
How did you,
UCA.
how
I'm
did you,
joking,
how
I
did you
know.
find out about this?
Beth?
The first 2 parts.
No, this part.
3 and 4.
This 3 and 4 I found from Beth.
Yeah.
Beth is the reason we're reading this. I wouldn't have even known. She's a hero.
She knows some.
She knows.
She knows.
She knows.
No,
What
she,
if Beth is Karen in the
I
story?
did. I was trying not to spoil myself, but I did catch her speaking about it in the Discord, and she was like, "This story fucking sucks."
Oh wow! Thanks, John.
But he makes us
I
read it anyway.
didn't. I ignored that. So we're gonna.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's
expecting
suffer.
to turn around. I'm expecting a 180, and I'm looking forward to a great story going
Well,
forward.
once again, you're lucky you're over there, and I'm over there.
I'm pretty
Why
sure
are you
William
being
is.
so aggressive?
Yeah, I don't understand. Over a story. What are you, fucking Nate? 1, 2.
All right. All right.
1, 2. That's on record. I don't give a fuck. 1, 2. Okay? You, again, because you don't speak fluently in sarcasm, I'm pretty sure William, as usual, is being sarcastic.
No shit,
Nope.
Sherlock.
Nope. He says with a big shit-eating grin on his
That's
face.
where you're wrong, Dan.
All right.
Keep someone.
Okay, we gotta. Okay, seriously.
Yeah, I was about
Okay.
to say.
All right, Dylan. We are more than 40 minutes in.
I'm sorry.
We have to keep going.
Why
I'm
you telling
sorry.
me that? That's your job.
Well,
okay?
because you keep threatening William with
Dylan,
physical
no,
harm.
I'm saying to the whole group.
She thought
not
I was
you.
messing with her at the bar, trying to take credit for a story someone else had lived. But I was able to convince her, and she didn't let it go after that. After long nights, we would lay in bed together, and she would ask me to tell her the story again, like some sort of morbid bedtime story. Each time I told it to her, I would embellish a little more or shake loose a new memory pulled from deep within my imagination. I don't know if she actually believed it or she just wanted to, but it became our thing. But of course, the story eventually wasn't enough. She wanted to live it. Can we go there? Let's go to the showers. She wanted us to go together and face them down, like some sort of boss fight. She constantly told me that it would be good for me to go back there and get perspective.
So
Big shower.
here's my prediction. Either something bad is going to happen to her, or because we got that little red herring before, she's part.
I'm just scrolling through.
Shut
it.
up. She's part of the big shower cult.
Yeah, a sleeper agent.
Yeah, sleeper agent. Yeah.
It was
Little
weird
shower.
how she closed her eyes and insisted on calling me the shower
The
every
shower.
time we had sex.
And then like
Okay, guys.
she
seriously.
gets there and
Shower me,
somebody
shower
she
me,
gets
shower
there
me.
and the speakers come on and just goes Pantene and she snaps out of it like that's the trigger word.
We gotta hurry up. Come on.
John, it's really, really hard to keep reading the story when I have zero fucking interest.
She was convinced it would help me pick up writing again. Karen also always told me that I had such good ideas, but that something held me back from letting them loose. She genuinely wanted to help, but I couldn't see how this would do that. Now it seems obvious.
Keep front loading.
It's fine.
I think another aspect of her interest in the showers
Keep going.
was just
Okay, my charger.
honest fixation we both had a tendency to key in on a particular subject and dig deep into it until there was nothing of interest left to uncover. Jesus Christ. This meant that her attention generally burned intensely before quickly fizzling out. My refusal to indulge her one last wish and take her to there kept her going. She would strategically pick the moments where I was just drunk enough to loosen my lips, but not so drunk that I was off in my own world to ask about the place. Occasionally, she would bring up a piece of information I had told her about the showers while blacked out that would resonate with me enough to put my arm hair on edge. Even if I couldn't conjure the memory while sober, my body recognized it. I knew she was getting closer to something in me that I didn't want to address. But I never stopped her outright. I don't know if I even believe my own story anymore. I just felt a bit sick when I thought about it. She persisted using every method in the book to try to convince me to take her there. Every new detail, real or otherwise, would motivate her to push me harder on the subject. It was the middle of winter when I came.
We were living in Fort Collins, Colorado at this time, which was only a short drive from Broken Bow, Nebraska. I had still maintained my ground when it came to making a trip there, claiming that I didn't remember, that we didn't have the time, and that I had forgotten exactly how to get to the farmhouse, which were both partially true. But like I said, she knew when she could get the best of me. We were sat on the couch following a long night of bar hopping and friend drama. Luckily, we had found ourselves on the same side of this particular situation, which meant that the night was going to close quietly. We were snuggled together under a blanket and watching the Coen brothers' 2013 flick, Inside Llewyn Davis. Well, Karen was watching while I split my time between nodding off and attempting to read a screenplay that a friend of mine had sent me. I'd seen the film half dozen times at this point. In it, a struggling folk singer loses his way after his partner commits suicide. Spoilers. Okay, sure. Karen and I shared a mutual fascination with the subject of suicide. Oh, here we go. It was only a matter of time before one of us said something. I would hate to jump off a bridge, I think, she said. There's a chance you live when you're hitting the water, and you'd wind up, paralyzed or something? I guess I'd feel like an even bigger waste of space if I couldn't even kill myself properly. I wasn't sure if she actually wanted to get into it or not, but I bit. I couldn't jump. I said, pulling her closely and closing my eyes. There's way too much build-up and pressure. Too much time to regret it when you're falling. It wasn't a taboo subject with us. It's difficult to explain to those unfamiliar with lifelong suicidal ideation. But discussing it... Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. But it's a word I'm not familiar with. But discussing it in blunt and honest terms is comforting. When faced with it every single day, familiarizing oneself with something typically viewed as morbid was its own sort of victory. We shined a light on it. Know your enemy and whatnot.
Okay.
Okay. Where we're getting little snippets of things that might come to fruition.
Even if it were concrete or lava below me, I couldn't do it. I don't want anything flashy, honestly. Give me benzos and a couple of pints of Chivas and I'll go gentle, I said. Maybe I would jump, Karen thought out loud, but I wouldn't do it from a plane. But I would do it from a plane. I just want that one last rush of adrenaline. You could stay alive and get a lot more of that, I replied. Not with those kind of stakes. She had a point. I just want it to be quiet. Let me drink myself to death with a book and some relaxing music to play me out. I sighed. Probably some Bright Eyes. I don't know. Karen was quiet for a while. A character in the film overdosed in a bathroom stall and she spoke up. I just don't want to go like that. At the very least, I'd want to be around friends or even family if no one else is available. I was nodding off. Kind of like your teacher. I stirred. She hadn't brought up the story in a while, and when she did, she never led into it with Mr. Mays. I guess, I said, if I fell asleep, she would be forced to leave it be for tonight. Let's go, bub, she said. Go where? You know. I knew. Liquor store's closed, I grumbled. Nebraska. It's late. Next week. I'll take it off work. I'll get someone to drive us. Why would anyone want to drive us to Nebraska? Brian seems interested. In Nebraska? In your story. You could write about it. It's been a while since you've written. I could bring my camera. From the way you've described it, I'm sure I can get some good pictures. I was getting uncomfortable, but that was offset by my exhaustion. I don't want to go. I didn't put up much of a fight. Please, for me, we never go anywhere, and the apartment gets stuffy, and it's my birthday next month. Okay, all right, I said, trying to appease her so that I could drift off. What about the cat?
The cat's dead. The cat is... the showers.
I was going to say.
This feels like he's still about his breakup.
I'm just powering through it.
The next thing I knew, we were packed up and leaving the comforts of home for Nebraska. I had said yes to the trip and had then fallen asleep. By the time I woke up the following afternoon, Karen had already secured one of our friends as our chauffeur and was requesting time off work to fit with my schedule. She was so happy, and I was on quite a bit of Xanax, but I wanted to keep the good times rolling. With our schedules and switching moods, happy was sometimes hard to come by, so I thought about that as we packed the car. I was asleep before we made it out of town. I woke up in another dimension. The view out the window was an icy tundra that hurt my eyes. I hadn't seen much of the sun in months, and the ice amplified it. Our friend Brian was behind the wheel of my shitty 2005 Ford Escape. as we flew down the interstate towards Broken Bow. Everyone called him the responsible one in our group of friends because he wouldn't get behind the wheel after drinking any booze at all. So he's the... whatever. What only Karen and I knew was that he would be high as a kite while driving us all home and telling how he was the only one of us not destined for a DUI. But he hadn't been in an accident yet, so we hadn't said a word. Karen sat shotgun with a Sonic cup in her lap. If I had known her, which I did, she would have poured out 3/4 of her drink and filled the rest with vodka. She noticed after a minute that I had woken up. "Hey, bud, sleep well?" she asked, turning around in her seat to face me. The vapor of vodka hit a hint of cherry limeade, flooded my nostrils and burned my eyes. Karen refused to travel long distances without what she affectionately called a roadie. She had adopted the term from her late father, who had killed himself when she was 14. He had opened his wrist over the sink in the bathroom while Karen was doing homework in her upstairs bedroom, and Karen's mom was doing an intern in her office at... Wait, Karen's mom was doing an intern in her office at work?
She was fucking someone at work.
Yeah, I thought it at first. I just wanted to make sure. Her preoccupation with suicide at least came from somewhere logical. She had always idolized Randy, her dad, and hadn't spoken to her mother in over a decade. She told me this story often, frequently reinforcing the idea that any of her... what the fuck?
Idiosyncrasies.
Okay, idiosyncrasies.
We had to get the parentheses explaining what that meant. But
Read bad habits. That related to Randy were exempt from criticism. I made my only sensible move in this situation. Did you get me one? Okay. Not as cringy, except for that part about the father that you just kind of threw in there. We were driving down the road, and it was fun. And by the way, she had suicide, documented suicide.
Yeah, like,
there's this...
Where?
This
Why?
fetishization of, like, this lifestyle, which you see in a lot of media.
I hate to honestly say it, but that paragraph and the way that weird suicide part was added, it actually reminded me of the structure of Jeff the Killer a little bit. Where it's like they're talking about something, and then all of a sudden it's like, Jeff had a deep, dark, black heart, and a knife that was 4 inches thick, and he was 13 and a badass.
It's just
like something, I don't know, like, it's not those words exactly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, anyway, William, what were you saying before you were rudely interrupted?
I was rudely interrupted, that's fine. The author has this big throbbing erection for this style of get drunk and high and want to kill ourselves.
This weird self-pity fucking...
This romanticization
fear and loathing
of deep depression, which I always find a little off-putting.
It is,
frankly.
Extremely.
So, whatever.
It feels like, oh, pity me because I'm so damaged.
We'll keep powering through it, but I find this whole, this damage...
I would have been fine
annoying.
with everything I just read for those 3 paragraphs, except for the adding...
Yeah, at least we're getting into it, and then that's thrown in. And again...
It reminds me of part 1. There's moments where Mr. Mays is telling the story, and it's like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then all of a sudden, and then Charlie stood up and left the room because he was scared or something, and everyone else was like...
the tangent doesn't bother me, it's just the whole depression with a wink that they're playing up here.
The tangent's bothering me.
Okay, I hear you. I'm just saying this whole, that whole aspect of the writing is what bothers me.
We're so cynical, and we're so dead inside. We can just talk about killing ourselves.
Isn't that a little played out by now?
It seems more like the fact of he wrote the first part 1 month and the next part, and then he was like, oh shit, how am I gonna put these
6 years later?
No, not the parts, but I'm like in the story, you see the first snippet of the story, and you're like, okay, it's about this, and then you see this next snippet, and you're like, how does that have to do with that? And then it's like, oh wait, I gotta have to do something to make it correlate with each other. Then you're reading this part now, I'm like, this sounds like something.
This started picking up, and it's starting to go somewhere. But then you still get these tangents.
It's like we're waiting for the story to get to the good part, which is when
we're waiting for the story to start.
And it hasn't
started yet.
Right, we're trying to get to the showers.
It's barely started.
It feels like he has to explain everything so people would understand it.
Or I don't know if it's that, or he's trying to develop
to the reader's imagination.
Less is more.
There's nothing for me to imagine now.
And again, I don't know if he's trying to make us care about Karen because either she's going to turncoat or she's going to die. But when you're writing a short story like this, there are tricks you can do to make you care about the characters that don't require you going into a fucking...
You don't have to...
One of them is what we're doing now, which
Right.
is casual conversation.
Right.
It's a very easy way for us to feel attached and get to know a character, which is what he's finally doing
Right.
after long. But the build-up,
It's still taking forever.
as we've said, is
If
a
the
really
beginning
annoying,
had more
but it's just,
conversations between the girlfriend and him, and less conversations about his stories about fucking women,
Right.
then
Right.
I think we would care more about Karen and him, and want him to be okay.
But we have
But I remember stories like Mr. Widemouth and even The Thing That Stalks the Fields, where we were coming up with things after we read it. We were coming with our own theories. We have nothing to theorize here.
Right.
This is just what it is. It's
Yeah.
stone. There's nothing to mold.
It's an instruction
And
book.
it
It's
doesn't...
going step by step of
It
how
doesn't...
to do it.
If you want to establish that your character's shitty and has some kind of redemption at the end of all this, fine. But, again, it just takes it's taking too long to get there.
And I will say, we should be careful not to mirror the story and take too long complaining that it's taking too long to get there.
Fair enough.
And just power through it.
Alright, Dylan.
Extra cups for you, my dear. Half and half. She winked and handed me the styrofoam cup of cure-all. I needed it. My jaw was throbbing. I have always had a problem with grinding my teeth in my sleep. It was so bad growing up that my canines actually grew outward like vampire teeth. It hadn't been an issue in some time. I figured that the previous night of partying, alongside the anxiety about the trip, had just taken a toll. I took a sip of the drink and winced. It was about 1/4 limeade and to 3/4 cheap vodka. Brunettes, I groaned. I guess it fits the scenery, Karen laughed. Nothing except the frozen-covered remains of last season's harvest and frozen dirt surrounded us for miles. I stared out over the miles of repetitious backdrop for a couple of hours. Barren earth occasionally gave way to tufts of shorn trees that reached futilely toward the gray heavens above. Seemingly ignored, they now resembled petrified roots that had aggressively snuffed out any hint of life that had once inhabited their numbers. Every now and then I was able to spot the rusting remnants of a vehicle or a crumbling shed hidden amongst the branches, surely soon to be overtaken by the vindictive woodland. The three of us passed the time by fiddling with a barely functioning tape to auxiliary cord converter so that we would play music off our phones. Unfortunately, even when we had gotten that to work, it was still a crapshoot, thanks to a spotty 4G connection on the plains. Karen and I chain-smoked Camel menthol cigarettes, much to Brian's chagrin. Chagrin. He smoked too, but would only touch the baby blue packs of American spirits, which were all natural and burned for an eternity. Smoking anything else, he believed, was just asking for cancer. I'm out. I'm done. I can't do this. I really can't do this.
You can
Dylan,
do it,
we're almost
Dylan.
done.
I can't do
Dylan,
this.
we're almost
All right,
done.
Dan, take over.
Frustrating.
Take over.
The drive was familiar and had me wandering. Well, it's clearly not a dream sequence or a metaphor for suicide, so Dylan
Dylan's
doesn't
out.
care. The drive was familiar and had me wandering through foggy memories of my last trip to Broken Bow. I was frustrated. Oh. He just takes all of my soul. I was frustrated and getting a bit uncomfortable because of the haze, so I had a drink about it. My own head was keeping me in the dark. Brian and Karen, despite having heard the story of the showers tens of times by this point, prodded me for new details once we had crossed the state line into Nebraska. I managed to dodge their inquisitions by telling them how it was a violation of tradition to listen to a band while on the way to the concert. This eased my pressure a bit, but my teeth were grinding and my jaw was aching. This place was bringing something out of me, leaving me anxious and reflexively defensive. Brian had grown up in New Jersey, and despite the relative emptiness of the two-lane highway, he was driving like he was still there. I had no problem with sweeping across lanes without a signal, speeding, or rapidly jerking left and right to exit the interstate on any regular day. As uncomfortable as it might be to avoid the eye contact of an angry truck driver that Brian had cut off, we always got to our destination significantly faster than the GPS estimated. However, today, this highway practices were making me queasy. The honks from several angry passerbys got to me too much, and I threw in my headphones and pulled my beanie over my eyes in an attempt at sensory deprivation. I ended up drifting off for a bit.
Of course he wears a beanie.
I had a dream that
He's
felt
a writer.
vaguely...
What else did you expect?
I had a dream that felt vague... A fucking fedora. I had a dream that felt vaguely familiar.
God, that'd be amazing.
But I hadn't remembered my dreams in years, so I couldn't be sure. I was back at the bar I frequented during college, the same place where I had last met Mr. Mays, almost a decade ago. The voices of the faceless patrons around the two of us were muted. I sat next to my deceased former teacher, who was sporting a sweater that read, "I'm the birthday boy." Mr. Mays looked up at me from a drink, eyes bloodshot from holding his booze and holding back tears. He didn't say anything, but I slowly recalled the conversation between the two of us from years ago, which rang through my head loud enough to fill the silence. I remembered his friend, the one they had lost. Mr. Mays looked away from me and into his drink. He didn't look back up. I heard a noise like dripping water that echoed around the bar. Looking in front of me, I found a highball glass that was filled to the rim with what I guessed to be whiskey. Without a second thought, I threw it back. Didn't sit well. I pursed my lips and sat it back on the table as the lights around the bar began to dim from the outside in. I rubbed my eyes and breathed deep to quell the nausea, but it wasn't working. The room continued to dim as the dripping noise rang out about me once again. I looked up at the glass before me to find it filled again, the liquid still rippling from the recent pour. Another drop fell from above, breaking the surface tension and spilling the drink all over the bar top. I looked up to see a shower head hanging just beyond the light. Dripping liquid, the sound of violently shaking pipes echoed around me, and the shower head began to shake. It began to erupt just as I was pulled back to reality with a jolt. Hey, Dylan, we got a dream sequence. There you go.
Doesn't make up for it.
Okay, well, there's no redemption then.
No.
Your phone's dead?
My phone's
about to die too.
Do you want to hang on? I can pass you a charger.
That's fine, he's got mine.
I panicked and thrashed about for a moment. My knee and arm cracked as I moved about, adjusting once again to the real world. "Whoa, Bubs, easy now," said Karen with a chuckle. Also, real quick, if someone I liked called me Bubs, that would bother me a lot. Just throwing that out there.
Not just a friend, but like your...
Anyone. You're right, anyone. Anyone calls me Bubs.
I'm going to start calling you
If
Bubs.
I'm sleeping with someone, if I'm friends with someone,
Bubs.
if I'm talking to my mother, if a gas station attendant calls
All
me
right,
Bubs.
we get it, Bubs. Relax.
Problematic. Okay, I've just invited a whole new world of excitement into my life. We had parked at a rest stop. Brian must have pulled in too quickly and hit the curb, which is what had woken me up. Brian sounds like a bad fucking driver, by the way.
Well, when he's drunk and high or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, whatever. Well, that's cool, Dan.
That's
Don't you get it?
It's cool to
really,
vape.
Everything that's happening is cool. I tasted cherry limeade crawling up the back of my throat and felt my stomach rumble. We're outside of Hastings. Don't know how far. Use the restroom now or forever hold your peas, said Karen. Sounds like my mom.
God.
I opened the car door and icy wind pushed it against me, slamming my foot in the door. Annoyed, I pushed back and rushed across the lot to the surprisingly bustling rest area. I did my business and washed my hands, attempting to ignore the leaking shower heads in the stalls in the back of
Oh! Whoa. Foreshadowing!
It's not foreshadowing.
Okay, it's a
Never
joke.
mind. I know, but
It's a joke.
I know, but I can't even joke anymore.
I felt every drop in my chest. I hadn't had anxiety like this in ages. The nausea had come with me from the dream, and I gagged slightly at the sink. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, pulling a flask from my jacket pocket and looking around me to gauge the judgment I was about to receive.
This guy's a walking...
He loves his booze.
He's just like, I'm trying to think of the word, but like...
Degenerate.
Just a booze hound.
Degenerate, alcoholic.
The truckers around me didn't take a second look, but a father who was changing his infant at the station near the door shot me a look. Maybe he didn't. I'm not sure why I cared. It wasn't going to stop me. One of the showers in the back turned on full blast. I took a pull from the flask and, unlike my dream, my stomach relaxed and the gagging ceased. I cleared my throat of whatever had built up prior to the nip of whiskey and spit it into the sink. It was a bright shade of red. I didn't panic. I just needed to eat at some point. Good. I pushed back through the line of people who had gathered at the restroom door
Throwing up blood's fine.
and jogged out back to the car. Karen was sitting inside with the window cracked, holding a dying cigarette halfway out. When she saw me, she flicked it out and rolled the window up, gesturing for me to hurry up. I hopped inside and we were back on the interstate within seconds. "Don't fall asleep on us again, bub. We're gonna need you to steer us from here, I think," Karen said. "Just get us to Broken Bow," I said, staring out over some of the harvested fields that looked like they had been burnt. "I'll guide us from there." I guess I did do tours.
We continued down the interstate for a while Brian and Karen sung songs, and I sat in the back seat, working, trying to ground myself. We were going to need to get some gas at some point if we are going to be hunting for this place. The boonies, said Brian.
Didn't they just stop at a rest stop? Why?
Yeah, they
Why
did.
didn't they get gas at the rest stop?
Shh. Well, there are only about 10 gas
boy.
stations
Oh,
in the
boy.
entire
Oh, boy.
state.
Oh boy.
Was the rest stop not a gas station?
Rest stops are notorious.
Maybe not in Nebraska.
Unless they fucking found the only rest stop in Nebraska that does not have a gas station attached to it.
That seems crazy.
Because to me, the concept of rest stop almost universally implies that there... Maybe I'm wrong? Could be wrong?
I've seen very few without one.
Very few without
We
gas
don't have
stations.
a large reach on this podcast, but if you've ever been to a rest stop that doesn't have a
Listen,
gas
John,
stop...
we went to school in fucking Buffalo, right? It's an 8-hour drive from us. Every rest stop you pass on the way, and there are many, there's always a gas
There's always
station.
a gas
I'm just
Always.
Alright.
Up and down, fucking DC, all around the East Coast. There's always...
Well, this
gas
sentence doesn't
stations.
make it any better. Well, there are only about 10 gas stations in the entire state, so exit where you can, I said. I caught the tail end of the sign that read "Broken Bow," and I didn't catch the other information. Within minutes, Ryan was exiting the highway and pulling into what appeared to be a gas station. Okay, it had pumps out front and a small convenience store, but behind it was a rickety single-story house. The design was Victorian, but it was faded and chipped to all hell. Some of the windows appeared to be busted in, the holes stuffed with assorted cloths and rags. I felt a sense of recognition as I stepped out of the car and began the gas pump to pump gas. Karen was running inside to grab snacks as Brian shouted after her. "Get me sunflower seeds," he yelled. She was already inside.
What
Brian
a poor
looked
choice, Brian. What a poor choice.
Yeah, really, honestly. There's so many things out
But
there.
again, there's just all this frivolous dialogue.
It's...
Honestly, this has been not outside of their weird adoration for this degenerate lifestyle that he's really like celebrating at every turn. This is fine. This is moving at an okay clip for me anyway.
This is all this unnecessary... Give me sunflower seeds.
Maybe compared to what came before, I've been Stockholmed and now I'm like,
that's
this
true.
is better.
That's true,
Because
but
this
like...
is better.
Who cares if Brian wants sunflower
I
seeds?
feel like this is just kind of boring.
It's a little...
It's too cemented in reality.
Yeah.
It's too cemented. For a horror story written on the internet, this is way too detailed.
Maybe they're
Way
trying
too detailed.
There's no room, again, it's like I said earlier, there's no room for readers' interpretation or
Keep
imagination.
it simple, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying to say real life
Let's
for
keep
horror.
trucking onward.
Brian looked at me. "Jack, sunflower seeds? Please and thanks, man." He closed the door behind him before I was able to tell him that I wasn't going inside. I grumbled as I walked into the old station. Brian was driving us, so I couldn't get too upset at him with the barking orders. I was just irritable and all over the place. The building had a familiar, musty smell
Good.
to it that, much to my surprise, started to help clear away some of the fog that had been bugging me. I was pretty sure that I had been to this particular gas station before. I figured that was pretty likely considering where we were at, and the aforementioned lack of stops in the area. It was a neat coincidence. That's what I told myself.
Karen was up at the counter, cheerily chatting with a young girl who couldn't have been much older than 18 about something or other. The girl was talking to Karen, but staring daggers at me the entire time. She wasn't even subtle about it. I figured I looked nervous and sweaty, so I didn't blame her for keeping an eye on me. But it still made me uncomfortable. I found myself grinding my teeth. I was attempting to work the pain out of my jaw muscles with my knuckle while aimlessly wandering the aisles, when Karen asked the young lady at the counter point blank, "What do you know about the showers?" The woman didn't miss a beat. "People don't deal with anything relating to that sort of business around here anymore," she said. My legs locked up and I turned my head towards her. She was staring directly at me despite Karen being directly in front of her. That was all a long time ago. Her eyes remained locked on me. I felt the pain in my jaw pulse and my stomach lurched. This was not possible. Consciously and unconsciously, I was rejecting the overwhelming feeling of déjà vu. I raced for the small hallway in the back of the store. I held my stomach and refused to look up at the woman. but I could feel her gaze on me still as Karen pressed her unsuccessfully for more information.
This is gonna be just like It Lives, and he puts on the glasses, and everyone's a shower head all of a sudden. And he's like, they're everywhere! Big showers among us!
It's not It Lives, it's They Live.
They Live.
Or they... is it They Live? Now
It is
now I'm second guessing
Yeah,
myself.
I think it is They Live. I think I'm completely wrong.
That's fine.
I think I watched too much It, and then it like, invaded everything in my mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like They Live.
That's a good movie then.
Yeah. So this woman's actually
They're both good.
just a shower head.
And much like the scene where Roddy Piper fights what the fuck's his name? What's the actor's name?
I have no idea.
Can't remember his name. Keith David
Oh
fights
my
Keith
God.
David for several minutes. This story's going on way too long.
Like, if that fight scene was 45 minutes, that would be what we're living through.
Which is, again,
It was 43.
this story would be so much more manageable for the first half. Like,
Right.
we could have just gotten to this. I met Karen.
Because
and
we're
she
getting
convinced me to go
towards
back.
the end, and I feel like this is
All right, let's get to the
literally
end.
this is literally like
Go up to it, or do you want this, Dan?
I'm asking that.
Okay.
Let's go, Dan.
I managed to get through the door and locked it behind me before falling to my knees and then onto the toilet that sat only a few feet in front of me. I could feel my stomach clench tightly over and over again, but nothing was coming out. I was violently dry heaving and struggling to breathe. With the pressure behind my eyes and skull building, I forced a finger down my throat. I thought that if I could just get whatever this was out of me, I would feel so much better. I was choking on my own finger and seeing stars, eyes on the verge of bursting before I gave up. I didn't need to pass out in a gas station bathroom. That sounded too close to rock bottom for comfort.
I will say this, and pulling back the curtain with like dealing with things like depression and stuff like that I've had to go through. This is very familiar to me.
Yeah.
That you really do feel like sometimes when you get anxiety, your stomach just pushes.
This feels
Acid.
autobiographical in a lot of ways.
Again, yeah.
I believe that this author is probably. I believe in these symptoms. This guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to this.
I sat back, my body lightly glazed with sweat, and concentrated hard on a number of deep breaths in an effort to get my vision to stabilize. It was a half-assed version of a grounding technique for anxiety that I had picked up at some point. I could feel the pressure release as I wiped away the torrent of tears that had wet my face. My eyes finally focused on the green picture frame next to the mirror above the sink. The picture frame read, "You can't choose him, you just gotta love him." And it featured what appeared to be 3 generations of women laughing while posing outside of a large green farmhouse. The youngest of the 3 I recognized as the woman at the counter just outside. Next to her was what I guessed to be her mother. Next to the mother was someone familiar. It was a sweet old woman in a sundress, the same dress that she'd been wearing when I ventured into the shop with my friend Steve many years ago. The 3 of us had a nice conversation about the town and her post-college trip until our motives for staying in Broken Bow were made clear. When she found out that we were in search of the showers, her demeanor changed and she had given us a stern and very measured answer.
Was that part 2? The beginning of part 2?
Probably. People don't deal with anything related to that sort of business around here anymore. It was all a long time ago. It really does feel like lately. Because they keep repeating the same exact thing. Remember who they asked? I got to my feet, my head spinning, and splashed some water on my face. I had burst a capillary in my right eye. It was blood red, dilated, and raining tears. I looked like a mess, but didn't care. After spitting up a bit of red into the sink, I walked out into the hallway, shooting one last glance at the picture just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. It was still the same old woman. I was definitely losing my mind. I quickly made my way towards the front door, knocking bags of sunflower seeds over and sticks of jerky onto the floor. Karen was still talking to the girl at the counter. The girl was no longer looking at me. Was she ever? If I didn't know Karen, I would have assumed that she was hitting on the girl, but this is just how she was. She had a way with people. Sure. You feeling okay? Karen looked up and down with a concerned look on her face. The girl at the counter stared at her. Did you get sick? I looked at Karen. The girl, Karen again. Out towards the car and back at Karen. Must have eaten something bad, I said, glancing up at the girl. Bad stomach, medications. She looked at me and calmly nodded, understanding. She seemed to sense that something else was going on, but I didn't care. Thanks, have a good day, I said, bolting out of the door. The bell above me rang. I could feel it in my jaw. Karen followed after giving the girl some sort of excuse for my behavior. Do you want to finish this?
Sure.
Finish this bad boy up?
Sure.
Hey, Karen caught up with me before I got to the car. What's up with you? I'm just tired, I said. She saw through that. I took a nip that went down the wrong pipe and got a little sick. It happens. Just wanted to avoid her judgy eyes. I gestured back towards the door. I mean, this is Jesus' country, and I feel like she would try to walk me through a pamphlet or something. Karen appeared to buy it, and we continued toward the car. I'm not looking to get saved anytime soon, I laughed. Who needs Jesus when you have me as your guardian angel? Karen said with an exaggerated smile and wink. I faked a gag. You're going to make me sick again, I said. She kissed me on the cheek and hopped into the passenger seat of the car. Brian had put on a Dandy Warhols album and was jamming by himself. I'd like to thank you, my dear. In less than a year, he sang poorly. Are we good to go, team? Karen took control of the phone and switched the song. Bohemian Like You blasted through the speakers. Let's bounce, said Karen, putting her sunglasses on and lighting a cigarette. I tried not to look back as we drove away from the gas station. Give me a bit to post the next section. This is all getting out as soon as possible.
And that was part 3 of The Showers. And why did the ending sound a bit like Scooby-Doo?
No, I feel like...
Are we all ready to go, gang? We have a mystery on our hands.
Like, this is... I feel like maybe, John, you should have vetted the level of no sleep this was going to be. Because you should have...
Oh, no,
it's tradition. This is Showers.
I'm feeling very sleepy right now.
No. I feel like I should have been warned that this was not going to be like... I feel like for the most part, we've tackled, like, actual short stories. Now we're really delving into the Reddit style of creepypasta.
This is... No, because the last 2 stories I've read...
No, you're right. The last 2 showers were not like this.
No, I'm talking about... You're talking about the overall podcast. I'm saying the 2 episodes that you've missed and
that I missed
were short. Mr. Banana and
No. I don't mean short. I mean the opposite. I mean long-winded, boring, dragged out amongst multiple parts, aka like a lot of our no sleep. Right. Which is what this is.
Again, this is a different case because it's The Showers, and I wanted to keep up the same.
No, I understand what you were going for, but this is very unlike the first 2 parts, which were cohesive individual stories, and this is just fallen into that style of droning nonsense, which just reads like someone's diary.
Right. Essentially nothing. Essentially nothing of note happened in the story.
They just drove to Broken Bow.
Much like the first part, and this author must have some kind of... this must be his style, because clearly every time he wants to write a story, he has to spend the first, I don't know, I take a guess, 10, 20 pages, if this was like a book or a novel, literally just dumping as much unnecessary exposition, not even unnecessary exposition, but also unnecessary dialogue and character interaction as humanly possible. At least in the first part of The Showers, we established who this character was, and what the tone was setting, and what the overall story was going to be. This part 3 spends time reintroducing us to this character, which is fine, but it spends way too much time doing that. Also, establishing what his life is. Also, we know what happens at The Showers twice now. We know where they're going. We know what the story is. So, I don't know if the author wants to take his time, because we know where we're all heading, right? But you can't, when you have a story, right? When you have something like The Showers, where we've visited the place of horror twice, okay? And we know what's coming, we're waiting for it. And we're waiting for how it changed, and we're waiting for how the author wants to interpret it this time. But we spent the entire story waiting for something, and nothing happened.
We sat there building up to something that we've seen before.
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Also, I'm a bit stunned because this was made on March 11th. On March 12th, he posted part 4 of The Showers.
So it was done. He just broke it up.
There's part 5.
There is a part 5.
I saw it in Google. And there'll probably be a part 6.
Please do not tell me that we're going to cover all this, because this alone was
Well, we'll have to try part 4 and see. I'm not going to do it back-to-back like last time.
Let's read it first before I have it.
No, we have to finish the show.
Dylan, you can duck out of that episode if you want.
Really well.
This is endemic to a lot of no-sleep stories, the sense that there's zero editing and it's just thought vomit projected forward for pages and pages of aspiring writers who just keep writing
And editing is a very important part of the writing process, and that is completely lost on people who post in no sleep most of the time, which is why you get up to part 10, part 20. We don't need it. There's no sense of pacing. There's no sense of arc development.
Right.
It's just thought vomit.
Right.
And it just keeps spewing. And sometimes
You
it's
can
well
cut
written.
the story in half, and it would be fine.
Sometimes it's well written, and a lot of this is well written, honestly. And it just doesn't
And that's
matter.
why I think we should at least try to read part 4, because I
Well,
think once we get to the location, which I think is going to happen.
These people, the people who write like this refuse to trim the fat, and there's so much fat. This was mostly fat. And so many of these stories just keep churning out more and more parts, and they write it somehow in their minds like a television series, but it's just a structural mess, and it destroys everything that a short story is supposed to be.
This would be a single episode of a show.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was a single episode of a show, I would be so fucking bored I would never watch it again. The problem that I have with this is the problem that we've been burned before in the past. When you look at something like the lost episode Ted the Caver, where it was 45 minutes of explaining how caving works and explaining the cave systems, where it's like, okay, this might have a payoff later. If he's going into this much detail about how it's done and how it's set up, we'll know when something goes wrong, we'll know. Like what went wrong and how it went wrong and how dangerous it is and things like that. We never finished it.
Ted the Caver that's its own.
Right, it's fine. But let me finish.
I personally broke that up into parts myself.
Let me finish. So we are expecting a payoff based on all of that information, right? I don't feel like there is going to be a good payoff in part 4 of the story. There could be, but I sincerely doubt it.
Part
Just
5
based
exists
right,
is enough for me to know that there will be no meaningful payoff in
and
part
just
4.
based on the history of this podcast, when we have something like this,
When has this happened?
I would urge you to check part 4 out before subjecting us to it.
We have to read it like we always do.
What does that mean? You always vet these garbage stories for us.
that's true.
Not always. No, some of them I haven't.
You've explained that most of the time you do, literally, in this very podcast.
Sometimes
I think we
I've
all
heard of them, yes.
I think
but like the last
read
one we
part
read,
4.
no, sometimes with Mr. Banana, for example, I didn't read Mr. Banana.
Mr. Banana's fucking a 20-minute story, John. And things happen, weird shit happens, but things happen. I also am in agreement that you should probably read part 4 before you bring it in.
I want to know that we're not diving into an 80-part
because I can't sit through another
stream of
one
consciousness. No,
We won't come back to part 4 then. I can't. Whatever. They don't want to come back, so I can't.
No, it's not that we don't want to come back.
It's fine.
We're asking you to read the fucking part 4 before you bring it to us.
Yeah, you say that
That's all we're
like
asking.
a child about it.
That's all we're asking.
You're the one playing Duel Links while we're reading.
Jesus Christ.
All right, well, let's
John, we're not telling you that we don't want to read part 4. We're asking you to please look it over
and find out
so that we don't waste our time.
We want to know that it's an actual story,
right,
and not more of this. That's all we're saying.
Because goddamn, this was, and I don't want to sit here and shit all over it because there are if this was like a character driven story, fine, but we know, again, we know where we're coming from with the first 2 parts. So why spending so much time talking about how this character has had a shitty life since he posted the first parts and having this whole damaged goods relationship? For, again, essentially nothing to happen. We established that they finally go to showers 3/4 into the story. That's
fair.
That's bad.
I mean,
it's
I
bad
think
and it's
part
boring.
3, but I think part 4 there probably will be something.
I'm sure, but we're saying.
And if you don't want to be involved, then don't be involved.
No, it's not that I don't want to be involved. You're getting very defensive.
I'm not getting defensive.
You're very defensive right
I'm
now.
not being defensive. I've never forced you guys to be on the show. If you don't want to be on it, then
we don't
want to be on it.
That's not what we're saying.
We don't. It's not that we don't want to be involved. We never not want to be involved. We just don't want to go through this again. Okay? That's it.
All right.
That's it.
I can't control that.
You
Sorry.
can if you read the fucking story before you bring it to us.
And you usually do.
You
I don't
usually
usually do. That's a lie.
All right,
sake.
to not go down this
We're
rabbit
going in
hole
fucking
anymore. This just this style of story, this Reddit style, which devolves. Because the thing is, we're looking at this as a third, part of this story, but it's not. When Reddit says part 3, that's just because they've hit the character limit. That's it. That's all this is. This isn't even its own part. This is part of a long, winding tale that doesn't have its own arc, has no rise and fall. This was, what we read now was just literally like the opening prelude to something that may or may not happen.
Which is what the first one was.
So, right, so if part 4 is just like part 2, that's fine.
Right.
But I don't know if it's going to be.
Right.
I think
And
it is. Well, because you guys are forcing me to, I'm already looking at part 4.
Fine, but that's our concern. Because this has not been great.
We just don't want this to be a 26-part style story which doesn't have any sense of pacing to it and which is not pleasant to experience and doesn't follow the format of what a short story is.
This was not fun.
In any element.
This was not fun at all.
Overly detailed.
I'm just
things
saying.
that did not need to be detailed
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
Like, just
All right,
fluff.
so I feel like we've kind of said all there is to say about
Yeah, I mean,
our experience with the showers.
I wanted to like this. I did, and there are funny little quirky moments that I enjoyed. The part in the bathroom where he sees the elderly woman that he spoke to, 10 years ago or whatever it being. I like that. I thought that was clever, but it was too much of just talking about his personal experiences in his life. There's no horror in this story. There's nothing creepy.
Well, there's no story. This wasn't a story.
This is or set up to a story. Whatever it is. There's no horror. There's nothing creepy about this. At least in the first part, right? It was a kid retelling a story that his teacher told, but it was creepy. You were interested. You were engaged enough. I was not engaged reading this. I was hoping it would go
I'm not
somewhere.
going to read part 4.
And it didn't. And that's it.
I'm going to ask someone else to quickly skim it for me so I can stay blind.
It's a good move.
Just
All right.
Just not good.
Good stuff.
Not great.
Dylan, you got any final thoughts for
Feels
everyone?
exhausted.
I'm good.
All right.
It's too much fluff. That's why I was
Too
like...
much fluff.
Well, that was fun. So join us on the next podcast where hopefully I pick the correct story.
Oh my
so
god.
that we can read whatever
Oh my
they want.
god.
So until next time,
bitter.
I am a little better, yeah, sure.
Oh god.
This has been my friends William, Dan, and Dylan. This has been Skillfully, and I am signing out. Peace out, everybody.
That's not science fiction. That's already happening. People are fucking life-size sex.
People
dolls.
hug their Roombas during storms. I know.
But like, no. I'm talking like vibrating life-size sex dolls.
Right. I feel like that would be what androids would end up being.
Right.
They would just be like they would.
Well, in David Cage's
David
world, we
Cage.
also have robotic pets now. We don't even need actual animals. We have robotic ones.
Why would why
Which, to be fair, like, if you wanted a pet, I would prefer a robotic pet. Because it lives forever. Or as long as you do. You don't have to worry about it dying or getting sick. Worst comes to worst, it gets run over by a car, you pull the AI chip out, put it in a new one. Simple.
If the AI chip doesn't get destroyed.
Well, whatever, yeah, but like, I'm thinking of like Altered Carbon style.
Oh.
But yeah.
Oh.
That makes sense, but like we would just try to fuck them. That'd be Tumblr. Reddit r/Android love.
Yep.
Oh man.
But I want mine to look like a dog with 2 legs. That's it. That would be the human race. Can it be a crocodile with big biceps?
They're called scalies.
That's what. Right. Exactly. That's what it would turn into.
William, we live in a post.
Could you move the petrol closer to this?
We live in a post Shape of Water world where it's okay to fuck fish people now.
Was it good old Guillermo del Toro who finally broke down that wall ban?
Yeah.
Pre-Guillermo.
He won a fucking Oscar. Like.
Yeah, well, thank God for Del Toro. Now we can all fuck our lizards in peace. Me and my pet snake can
Are
finally
you getting any of this?
I'm testing it right now.
Okay.
The whole thing just...
So, like...
Shape of Water wasn't even that good.
I haven't seen it yet.
You're not missing much.
Oh, wow.
You're not missing much.
Surprise, surprise, William doesn't like something.
Alright, well, it's whatever. I'm not even going into it.
I mean, it's no Deadpool 2, but...
I had the weirdest conversation with my dad. I was watching the Yankee game with him.
John, we're talking right now. I'm
Wow.
just kidding. Go ahead.
Woo!
No, come on. I'm just fucking with you. John,
No, it's...
tell me about your father.
It's a letdown now.
No, oh my god.
It's a letdown, just like my father.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Oh, wow.
No, it's fine.
No,
Clearly... Sorry I interrupted the adults here talking about their lizard sex robots.
Lizard fuck robots.
We're talking about the future, John, but that's fine. Belittle it. Keep belittling it.
Alright, I'll just tell Dylan later when no one else is here, because he doesn't judge me like you do.
I'm not judging you, you're just being rude.
That was. Well, I got that. I got that jab. You guys got the jab.
It's hot in here.
It is hot in here. No, I was watching the Yankee game with him, and he was like, John, I saw this movie with Uncle Herbie called Deadpool 2. It was really funny. And I just knew that if William was in the room, he would like go up Chuck.
Just start retching. Yeah, just start dry heaving.
My father, I'm about to leave for work yesterday.
Yeah, my dad really likes Deadpool 2 and I wants to watch the first one.
Oh, well, he's welcome to that on his own.
I'm leaving for work yesterday and I'm running late and my dad stops me at the door and goes, what's up with this new Han Solo movie? My dad, you're 6 months too late.
Yeah,
at
really.
least. And I walked out. Because I don't have time to have that conversation.
I don't have time. He's behind.
He's behind.
Get on the edge, Dad. Come out here with me. The cutting edge of pop culture.
Dude, clearly he does not watch the Nerd Crew. Like,
Well,